Welcome everybody to another episode of the PPSS show. My name is Fong, and I'm so excited to have a very, very special guest here today. He is a legend and icon in the athletics, shoes, and sporting world. Had the opportunity to see him live on stage, meet him, hear him speak, and when he speaks, everybody absolutely listens because he brings a wealth of knowledge when it comes to business strategies and building a billion-dollar company. He brought fame to the name Reebok. In 1958, he founded the company. In 1986, he brought it to #1 shoe company in the world. And in 1989, he introduced the Reebok pump, which I was so envious on because everybody had it. But I was able to compensate for that for getting my very first Reebok tracksuit. And I felt like I was going to win every single time I had that tracksuit on. Later on, he exited the company with billions. So please welcome the author of the book Shoemaker, legendary, iconic founder of Reebok, the one and only Mr. Joe Foster.
Well, what a great introduction, Fong. Yes, thank you very much for that. And I'm pleased to hear that you got a tracksuit. Have you not got the pump yet?
I was never a basketball player, so I never needed to get shoes with pumps in it to jump higher.
Well, we do it in tennis as well.
Yep, that's true. Well, I'm going to have to get myself a pair of those pumps because, man, when I see people wearing those, I'm so envious and I got to get a pair of those. But speaking of those shoes, when you were getting into the industry, you had to go up against the Nikes and Adidas. And I hear you talking about this white space that you jumped into. And that white space was aerobics. Now, for people jumping into any space now, how does one find that white space? How did you find that niche? How did you find that white space that worked for you and Reebok?
Well, the fact that when Jeff and I left the family company and we were looking to set up our own company, which we did. We started as Mercury Sports, but within 18 months, we converted that into Reebok. Well, at that time, ADDIDAS were they were into the UK. ADDIDAS, German company, come into the UK, and they had taken the soccer market. They owned the soccer market. So for us, when we look, what are we going to do? we obviously couldn't go into soccer. It would have been too expensive. So we did track and field, we did running, we did cycling, we did many other things, but we did it locally. So the white space for us were things like fell running. You might not have heard of fell running, but fell running is running up and down the side of mountains and things like that. Orienteering, cross country. So those areas, and we worked on it locally. So we built a community locally so that we could make a difference. We went to the events, we supplied runners. So we sort of grew scale. We scaled our company from being small, and we scaled it locally, outwardly, and in these white spaces. So we were able to develop our company, even though Nike and Adidas were tremendous sized companies compared to us. We were very small. And of course, we got to a point where really we were probably #1 in the UK in track and field and running. But the next question was, what do we do now? Do we go into soccer? Do we go into these other events, these other sports? Or do we expand our territory? Do we go into Europe or do we go into America? We already had the British Commonwealth, so Canada, Australia, that was okay. That was easy because we could advertise through magazines, and the magazines went around the Commonwealth. So that was okay. But my choice was to go to America. And the reason for that was that the British government, they were advertising in a sports magazine that they would pay for me to go to Chicago, and they would pay for a stand in Chicago, pay the airfares, and 50% of the hotel bills. So that was that was really good. Not only did it allow me to go to America, it allowed me to go to the sporting goods show and expose Reebok to the American market. However, that was 1968. I didn't get into the market until 1979. That's 11 years. I had 11 years practicing. I had 6 failed attempts. And in the end, we got into the American market because of Runner's World. And our luck. The luck was we were in running, and running became a big sport. Everybody wanted a pair of shoes to go out running, to keep fit. First of all, it wanted to keep fit. Then, of course, there were so many people out there that people started entering 5Ks, 10K events, half marathons. And what happened is that Runner's World magazine grew from being a single page up to a 60-page color magazine. And by 1975, so many people were running, so many people bought the magazine. We were advertising in the magazine. And whilst that was good, it wasn't until the magazine decided they could tell everybody which were the best shoes. Wow. For 2 years, they said Nike was best, and then somebody else, I forget who was the second one, but that didn't work. It didn't work because when you say Nike's number one shoe, everybody wanted to buy a pair of Nike. Maybe 10 million wanted to buy a pair of Nike at that time. And Nike were importing from the Asia, and the factory just could not produce enough product to satisfy demand. So on the third attempt, Runner's World, Bob Anderson decided instead of telling everybody which was number one, they would do star ratings. So they said 5 stars, that would be the best, but there could be 3 or 4 shoes that would make 5 stars. And we thought, well, we're in the business, why don't we try? And we did. We got 5 stars. In fact, 3 of our shoes got 5 stars. And that made the difference. Up to that time, we'd been pushing our shoe, trying to get it onto the market. As soon as we got 5 stars, we had credentials. We wanted, people in America, the runners, wanted to buy Reebok. So that was great. That got us in. And that grew us to a $9 million business in America. And then our guy down in California, his wife was going to these aerobic classes. And he asked his wife, it was Arnold Martinez, asked his wife, Frankie, what are you doing? And she said, aerobics. And he said, what's that? What's aerobics? And she said, well, we're exercising to music. Wow. Next class, Arnold went down there to have a look at this. Saw the instructor wearing a pair of sneakers. We think they were New Balance. Half the class were wearing the same sneaker. The rest of the class were just barefoot. And that's when Arnold had this thought, wow, why don't we make a shoe specifically for aerobics, specifically for women, in women's sizes, on a woman's last? And that's what we did. We made that. And when Jane Fonda went out and bought a pair and used them in her fitness videos, we took off. We just exploded. And in 4 years' time, from 9 million, we went to 900 million.
Wow, that is incredible. Now, when it comes to finding that white space and getting that niche, it requires creativity. You also designed the sole that was used in the 70s and is still being used today. You also know that, hey, when you have good technology, it needs to be visible as well. And that also takes creativity. So how did you hone your creativity? How does one tune into their creativity side?
Well, I guess the creativity, when people ask, what is your specialty? What did you do, Joe? I guess with marketing. Marketing was more my side than finance or production. Jeff, my brother, he looked after the factory. So he was production. That was it. Finance, we had an accountant who would look after finances. So the next thing was marketing. So it was really a question of, okay, how do we manage to develop our company against companies like Adidas and eventually Nike? Well, it was that white space. You did mention white space. So we went for the white space. And the biggest white space was, of course, aerobics. And so it means, how do you design a shoe specifically for aerobics? Arnold Martinez, he designed the freestyle. First, well, his idea, he had the idea. We'll make it a nice cushion sole, nice soft upper leather. In fact, we'll use glove leather because the girls will love it if they put the feet in just like a glove. Unfortunately, glove leather is not strong enough to make shoes out of. So we had a problem. And for 2 or 3 months, those shoes made out of glove leather, they were falling apart. But luckily, we were in America, we were in Los Angeles, and the girls just went out and bought another pair of shoes. Had that been anywhere else in the world, Reebok would have been dead. Reebok would have died with that mistake. We got it right, and eventually we used leather which was more like garment leather. So it was really saying, well, what do these girls want? And I think this was the important element. Arnold brought that to the company. The girls want something which is specifically for them. They just don't want to wear a sneaker. They want to wear an aerobic shoe. And I think that as a company, we recognize that. Let's make this nice shoe, which is all white, with just the name on the side and the Union Jack, which just brought a bit of color to it. And they love them. In fact, they love them so much, they didn't just do the aerobics in them. They went to work in them. They put their heels in the bag, and they were so comfortable that going down to the job, they would wear their aerobic shoe. So they became, I think, they were really the first shoe that really made the street that big. And because we only made them in women's sizes, the men were looking on and saying, why can't we have a pair? You know, they're so comfortable, these women. And eventually we didn't make the aerobic shoe in soft leather, but what it did, it brought soft leather into fitness shoes and into tennis shoes. And that made a difference, because up till then, the leather that had been used on sports footwear was quite hard. Possibly, you know, it sort of took the normal sort of shoe leather that you would get on street shoes and just made it white. But the idea of putting soft leather in there was something that Reebok brought to the sports footwear industry, and everybody loved that. And so it was designing things nice and soft, specifically for your particular sport. And of course, we expanded from there into basketball, into American football, and tennis. And then the brand grew to 4 billion.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. Thank you very much for all of that. And also, congratulations on your book. A book that's so full of great stories, lots of stuff that people can learn from. And so tell us a little bit more about the book. I know that you use the book to really set the story straight. How should people get like a hold of you and also get the book?
Well, I think you're going to get our details from when you get this video, but also you can buy the book from Amazon. That's the simplest way. It's in quite a few stores, still in there. It's been out for a while, but buy it from Amazon, and the sales are actually increasing right now because people are getting to know that it's not only a story, and I believe people tell me it's a good story. They enjoy the story, but they also enjoy the fact that there's so many business so much business information in there, where, you know, we're only small, and people start off small. A lot of business books start talking about a lot of big things going on, but we were small, so not many big things were going on. But we had to change our name. You know, we had to change our silhouette, and these were problems. But we learned how to take the problem, take the failures, and turn them into opportunities. And I think anybody who wants to start up in business or has a business, face those problems and just say, now, how can we turn this into an opportunity? So this is what the book is about. And we're even doing a second book. Well, we've more or less finished it. Survive and Thrive. Survive and Thrive is a lot of people's stories who have started with a lot of difficulties, similar to us. We started with difficulties, but they've actually turned it around, and they've thrived, and they've had a nice, successful business. Probably not managed to get as big as Reebok. You know, we were building a brand and building a dynasty. A lot of people today are happy to be an entrepreneur, build a business, and then sell the business and start again. So they're serial entrepreneurs. I wasn't a serial entrepreneur. I just wanted to build a brand.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Make sure you get a copy of his book. Absolutely amazing. Once again, thank you very much for your time. It was an honor having you here, and it's been amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an absolute delight and pleasure, and good luck with your podcasting.